In a racial disturbance, some black teenagers had squared off with the police with their rocks and bottles and didn't want to move. When this prominent Negro came along and says, "Let me talk to him." So he walked over and he talked and they listened to him. So he wraps his talk up with this argument. "Now you know that I'm colored. I am on your side. I'm with you." And one teenager spoke up and said, "Well, if you're with us, throw this rock. And if you ain't ready, just step aside because we're going to work out." When Whitey the heckler breaks in with, "Just what is it you people want anyhow?" The teenager says, "What you got?" Says, "That's no big question. All we want is some of what you got. Right now." Well, you see, right now, this teenager was faced with a draft. That is, right now. And this teenager had heard about World War I and World War II and what have you, that when the Negro soldier got in the battle zone, this question had always been asked: "Boy, what are you fighting for?" Now, this black soldier jumped up and down when they called him boy, but that really wasn't what was bugging him. What am I fighting for is what was hurting, because this foreign soldier was telling him that if you defeat us, that is, tear down my home, where I live, where I work and make my living, he says, when the war is over, because I can no longer exist in my home, I'll come to your home, and somebody will have you teach me how to be your boss. And I won't have to pay 20 or 30% more rent either, because I'm not white. And I won't have to pay more for property than it's worth because of segregation, and in turn have to go to a high-rate finance company to get it financed because I'm a poor risk due to my limited job opportunities. And I won't have to live in neighborhoods where my wife or any other woman, when first seen on the street, will be suspected of looking for a pickup. It says that kind of neighborhood I won't have to live in. Now, if you'll just bear in mind that some of us DPs would not have come to your home to compete for jobs except for the fact that you destroyed our home, is that what you're fighting for? And then again, you object to being called a black mercenary. But what is a mercenary soldier? It's just a man that's paid to fight. He doesn't care who he's fighting, and he doesn't care what the fight's about as long as he gets paid. So if you'll hold that thought for just a second, we could take another Negro speaker who might say that he doesn't feel that Ho Chi Minh is his enemy, but he does feel that Wallace and his kind are the enemies of all black people. So if that's true, why are you fighting Ho Chi Minh? Because you're afraid that if you don't go to the army, you'll have trouble getting a job. Nothing else. And that's not a secret. But what kind of jobs do you get? Do you get good jobs because of a good war record? No. You get what's left when the DPs get through picking. And not only that, but you'll have to do so much more work than anyone else that you'll be blamed for ruining the job. But I'm not going to call you a black mercenary. I'm going to call you a cheap black mercenary. And to point it up a little more clearly, we could take a man like the champ, who has already said that for $1 million he doesn't want it. Well, that is so much farther ahead of anything for which you're ready that you want to rule him out completely. You want to say that he's nothing but a fool because he wouldn't have to go to the front, because he could entertain as other champs had done, and so forth. But this is where I make my point. Maybe this champ did have reason to believe that he wouldn't have to go to the front. Maybe he did have reason to believe that he could entertain as other champs had done. But then maybe this champ didn't want to be used as other champs had been used to pressure black people into doing something that he didn't want to do, not even for $1 million. While you are trying to justify your going because you hope that someday, with your cheap mercenary self, that you'll have one of those good $8,000 or $10,000 a year jobs in spite of the fact that you've had no promise whatever that you wouldn't be sent to the front. So all of that got into why this teenager was thinking that right now ain't too soon. Since the recording of Right Now, one of the world's most capable leaders of my time, the incomparable Dr. King, has died at the battlefront, fighting for the dignity of man. A quarter of a century ago, this author of Right Now had the experience of being with several men, a man past 60 years of age with one leg, a man 57 years old with one eye, others past 50 years of age, some of whom had fought for this country in World War I, and still others much younger, that is, in the prime of life. One of this group expressed it this way: "You know that I don't have to go to the Army because I am 57 years old, but the things that we are doing today is something that we hope someday will help our younger people." These men, and I do mean men, were doing 3 to 4 years each in a federal prison at Sandstone, Minnesota, for refusing to register for World War II, a voluntary protest. Now, when we can honestly identify with such men, and again I do mean men, I think it quite proper to take a good look at those Toms who fear a hot summer. In my time, we have had numbers of well-known as well as lesser-known men who have died fighting for the human rights of the black man. Now, if these leaders and their families could withstand a 24-hour day, daily, year in and year out, hot summer, trying to find a way for black people, how can we leave the Uncle Toms and nervous Nellies unexposed? It's true, we have some people, and I don't mean men, who will watch his neighbor shovel snow, then at the first opportunity will park his car in that spot. This person will do this all winter, but will never use the shovel himself. It's true, we have people who want union wages and union benefits, but dare not stand up until the gains have been won by others. Then they are in the forefront with their credentials, skimming the cream. My interest here is to further expose the nature of such people as the Toms, Nellies, the snow shirkers, those who want front row center only after victory is apparent, as well as some members of the well-known club, Nobody But Me and just a few others are ready now, as being of the same cloth. Now, in conclusion, if these leaders, as well as their families, could endure hourly, day and night, this state of a hot summer the entire year round, how can I claim kinship with they and the fearless late Dr. King if my precious hide is going to blister at just the mere thought of a hot summer? Thank you, Paul Gamble.